Hey, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a super powerful playbook for making sure your projects actually get done and get done right. It's all built on some core ideas from Six Sigma, which is all about peak performance. And really, it's about sidestepping all those common traps that cause things to fail.
All right, let's just dive right in. I want to start with a question that, I'm pretty sure many of us have faced, whether it's in a huge project at work or even something as simple as trying to plan a family trip. It is so frustrating, right? You see it all the time. Massive corporate initiatives, simple team assignments, a huge number of them just don't hit the mark. But what if I told you that one of the main, totally avoidable reasons for this happens right at the very beginning? So get this, according to 15 years of data on these big Six Sigma projects, the number 2 leading cause of project failure isn't a lack of money or talent or even effort. Nope, it's a flawed foundation. It's a problem that starts small and then grows into this monster called scope creep. But here's the good news. There is absolutely a way to build a rock-solid foundation from day one. And it's not about making things more complicated. It's about using a simple, clear, 3-part playbook that gets everyone on the same page from the get-go. So, part 1 of our playbook, we're calling it the blueprint. This is all about getting crystal clear on your plan before you ever start doing the work. And the main tool we use for this is something called a project charter. Think of the charter like your project's constitution. I'm serious. It's not just some document that gets filed away. It's the source of truth that gives the whole team purpose, motivation, and focus. It answers those huge why and what questions before you even think about the how. Now, a charter covers a lot of ground, but for dodging that number 2 cause of failure we just talked about, one piece stands above everything else, defining your scope. And this means being super clear about what you are going to do, and this is the part people always forget, being just as clear about what you are not going to do. And this next slide just brilliantly shows you the power of getting that scope right. Let's look at 2 huge projects from American history that had wildly different results. On one hand, you have the Apollo program. The goal from President Kennedy was incredibly clear. Put a man on the moon, return him safely by the end of the decade. That's it, laser focused. On the other hand, you've got the Vietnam conflict. The mission started out small, just advising. Then it expanded to a full military role. Then it bled into neighboring countries. It's the textbook case of project failure. And that constant expansion, that's our problem. So that's what scope creep is all about. It's what happens when those clear lines you drew just get blurry. And what's crazy is it often happens with the best intentions. A team starts working on something extra because they think it'll help, but it was explicitly defined as being outside the project's boundaries. That is how you end up trying to boil the ocean. All right, let's move on to our second tool, the compass. This builds right on top of our blueprint. Because once you know what you're building, you have to know exactly who you're building it for and what they really truly want. Okay, now I love this slide because it shows this really simple but profound difference between a need and a requirement. A need is what starts the whole conversation. I need a cup of coffee. Fulfilling that need, that just gets you in the game. But fulfilling the requirements, that it's got to be hot, fresh, strong, and have cream, that's how you actually win. So the big question is, how do you find out what those requirements are? Well, it's definitely not guesswork, and it's not assuming you know what's best. It takes a really disciplined approach of gathering information and really listening to the voice of your customer. And there are a bunch of proven ways to do this. You're basically trying to triangulate the truth. You can do one-on-one interviews to read body language. You can run focus groups to see how people interact, or you can use surveys to get big picture numbers. Each method, as you can see, has its own pros and cons. So here's the golden rule, the most important point. Never, ever put all your eggs in one basket. If you just rely on surveys, you might get skewed data. If you only use one focus group, one loud person could dominate the whole conversation. By combining at least 2 different methods, you can check your work and get a much, much clearer picture of what your customer actually requires. All right, that brings us to our final tool, the map. So you've got your blueprint that defines your scope. You've got your compass pointing you toward your customer's requirements. Now you need a clear visual path to get you from the start line to the finish line. This whole part of the playbook is about one thing, sequence. And this quote, which is maybe a little funny, is the perfect analogy. The steps you take are important, sure, but the order you take them in, that is absolutely critical. And that's exactly where a process map becomes your best friend. People call it the workhorse tool of improvement for a reason. It forces you to lay out every single step of your process visually so you can actually see and understand the entire journey. A fantastic way to think about this at a high level is a framework called SIPOC. It's an acronym that helps you identify the suppliers, the inputs they give you, the core process steps, the final outputs, and of course the customers who get them. It gives you that whole bird's eye view. And to actually build the map, you just follow these 7 steps. First, you name the process. Easy. Then, and this is key, you define its exact start and stop points. That reinforces your scope. Then you actually work backwards. You identify the final output, then the customer who gets it. Then you jump back to the beginning to identify the suppliers and the inputs they give you. And only then, after you have all that context, do you fill in the 5 to 7 major steps in the middle. But please, whatever you do, avoid this incredibly common trap. Your first process map must capture the process as it actually is today, warts and all. Not the perfect, idealized version you wish you had. You have to remember, you can't possibly fix a problem until you've honestly looked at it first. Okay, so after all that, let's pull all 3 pieces together. What does our finished success playbook actually look like? Successful projects aren't about luck. They're not magic. They are built on the disciplined combination of these 3 pillars. A solid blueprint that stops scope creep in its tracks, a customer-focused compass that makes sure you're building the right thing, and an honest map that clearly shows you the path forward. And when you look at it that way, you see this isn't just a bunch of business jargon. It's really a fundamental framework for achieving any complex goal. By putting your energy into these 3 key areas right at the start, you dramatically shift the odds of success in your favor. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this question to chew on. Think about a project in your own life, big or small. Where's the weak link? Does it need a clearer blueprint, a more focused compass, or a more honest map? Just applying one of these tools could be the thing that turns potential failure into a huge success.